What's going on, guys? It is time. Yu Yu Hakusho and Kaiju 8 are around the corner, and we've officially got the full English set list. So we're going to start diving into these, starting with the green set for Yu Yu Hakusho. Hopefully you guys enjoy. We got some really interesting changes to this set, so we're going to start out with those before we actually start diving into the cards here. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and let's dive right into it. So if you guys don't know, in Japan, Yu Yu Hakusho, like many sets, does have a starter deck. However, unlike the Japanese version, we are actually not getting the starter deck. Yusuke here, Kurama, these cards here were starter deck exclusives. Instead of them giving us a starter deck, they're actually merging it with the main set. Some pros and cons to that for sure. A big con is the SRs that you would initially only get in the starter deck are now added to the main pool. So when you buy a box, we don't know if they're going to increase the SR pool. The only set I believe they've done this with was Code Geass, actually. So let me know. I actually didn't crack Code Geass or dive into it much, but let me know, with Code Geass, since they merged the starter deck with the main set, increasing the SR pool, did they by chance up the SR rate? I'm very curious. I doubt it, but hopefully they do with this box, if anything, because that would be nice since they are overall increasing the SR pool with these two cards. Also, the card pool is going up just a little bit because, again, they're not removing any cards from the main set. They're just increasing the number with the cards you would get from the starter deck. Now, a pro that you can kind of look at that is really cool is we're getting English exclusive alternate arts for the SRs. So in Japan, the alt arts for Yusuke and Kurama SRs don't exist. So pretty cool that we're getting those. But yeah, so a pretty interesting change that they're doing there. I don't know. I personally do like the starter decks. I didn't mind that they were doing like the little promo packs too. You get an alternate art, encourages trading with people and stuff like that. And again, at the end of the day, just having a starter deck to dive into the game with sort of encourages people because it's a lot more what's the word? It's a lot cheaper and easier to dive into when you can just build off of the starter deck, especially with Yu Yu Hakusho, where this green Yusuke is very, very strong and very usable in the main Yusuke green deck. So, and I'd honestly say both decks. This Yusuke SR is very runnable. So, unfortunately, you know, he's going to have a higher price versus if he was just a starter deck card, right? Regardless, different ways to look at it, pros and cons, but yeah, they are doing that for Yu Yu Hakusho. Very curious what sets they're planning on doing this with in the future. But on top of that, something really, I would say unfortunate to see is we are getting a 3-star voice actor signature, which is awesome. But unlike the other sets where we do get signatures for the 3 stars, we usually get them for the 2 stars as well. Every 2-star hit would be a signature. Whereas the other sets, if it's not a signature, the 3-star hits they're serialized potentially, 0 out of 100. But the downfall to those serialized sets are the 2 stars are literally just alternate arts. They're not serialized, they're not signatures, which generally leads to lower prices on the 2 stars. Whereas when we have 3-star signature sets, all the 2 stars are actually signature cards, which usually lead to at least better values than the 2 stars that are just alt arts. But where I'm going with all this is it does look like in Yu Yu Hakusho, the only signature in the entire set is going to be the 3 stars. So like serialized sets, unfortunately, the 2 stars are going to just be alternate arts. So, and if you don't know, in Union Arena, a 2-star is a case hit 1 out of 16 boxes. And unfortunately, as we saw like with JJK and a lot of other sets, those cards don't really hold a lot of value. Whereas like if it's a case hit 2-star, but it's a voice actor signature, those generally do hold a nice price. Again, I don't really like to get into the prices too much in the actual set breakdowns, but this is very interesting to mention because generally with the signature sets, you're expecting the 2 stars to also be signatures. So yeah, very interesting choices for sure. But yeah, diving into the actual set here, green Yu Yu Hakusho is looking really strong. Honestly, I think all the colors for Yu Yu Hakusho are gonna stand out quite a bit, but green's looking amazing. The 2 decks we're gonna be getting here are based around a brand new Impact Sniper joining the game. If you haven't gone up against Kurapika, or I believe maybe like the Xenon deck from SAO, we've got another Snipe Impactor in the game here, who's going to have some added additions as well, like being able to rest an opponent's card as well on top of the Impact Snipe, so essentially removing 2 blockers. It's going to be so nice. The deck also has a lot of energy generation, draw power, deck filtration, and again, yeah, the fact that you have so many Yusuke raid targets with 2 different raid Yusuke's, this one allowing you to get some draw power off, as well as a lot of impact with this card and other play options. You have a lot of choose one of the following effects in this deck, but then we're going to have this card Koenma here, the color trigger, one of the two, who's going to allow you to choose all of the effects on certain cards, or on any card you want that turn. And again, you're going to have different options. The best one going to be the 7-cost raid Yusuke, I'd say. But yeah, really cool new play style that we're going to have with that. And then we're also going to have this other deck, really mostly based around Kuwabara, as well as a lot of focus on Genkai as well. She also has her own raid here, but the deck, the other option, you could do some mixing as well, I'd say, in the whole green set, but the focus, I'd say, on the other deck is a lot of removal, a lot of playing out of the sideline, which you don't really see a lot in green, and a lot of like rush and like board pressure as well, playing cards for free and stuff, low cost as well, while you're ramping and going up to 7 for this deck. You could also focus on the other build, which is really focused on like 4 or lesses. This Genkai card here, the other color trigger, allowing you to re-stand 2-cost cards. So it's like a really rush heavy, low-cost green deck. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of mixing in the whole green set here. It looks like that's what a lot of these newer sets are trying to do, at least when they can, is allow mixing within the color versus, great example I always like to point out, purple black clover, where that color is 100% completely split down the middle. You are not mixing those two, the two decks with each other. But I'd say in green, Yu Yu Hakusho, you got a lot of options here. This character gains when this character attacks and is not blocked. Choose one character on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting until the end of the turn. Or the other effect you could choose is just to give Yusuke here impact, so you can go with the snipe impact. And the reason this is such a great combo, let's say if you do play this Koenma card here, who we'll dive into him in a second here, but he allows you to choose all of the effects on a card. So if we do trigger both of these effects, if you don't know, when you're actually sniping a character, it does not trigger when blocking. That does not count as your opponent blocking. So when Yusuke is attacking and sniping, forcing your opponent's character to get sniped, it does not force a block. Thus, you can trigger the other effect. Now that you're attacking and your opponent's not blocking, you can actually rest one of your other opponent's characters. So gonna be some crazy plays you can pull off with that. With a full front line, there's some damage 2 options in here as well. I think there's one Hiei. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy being able to snipe, impact, also rest, and just go for these massive plays. And again, we'll be diving into it. A lot of energy generation to help get this guy out very easily. But yeah, since he's the other main engine of the deck, let's go ahead and dive into Koenma real quick here. So 3-cost color trigger Koenma. He's a double energy generator, so already makes him very usable to get the 7-cost out. During your turn, when a character on your field activates, choose one of the following abilities. You may switch this active character to resting, place the face down card under this character into the sideline. If you do, that ability becomes choose 2 of the following instead. So essentially, what you're going to have to do is get a card face down underneath Koenma here, and there's going to be different ways to do that. And in order to trigger that effect, you're going to have to rest him and remove that card. So as you'll see here, when played, if on the energy line, you can actually switch this character to active. So the turn you play him, he's active, and then active main, switch to resting once per turn. Place the top card of your deck face down underneath this character. And then the other 4-cost raid Yusuke is actually going to help you get cards underneath him as well. We'll check that out. But yeah, that's essentially the game plan with Koenma. We play him out. The turn we play him on the energy line, we can switch him to active. So that turn, we can rest him with the active main and prep him with a card face down underneath him. So that going into the following turns, hopefully we can use that during your turn ability and remove the face down card underneath. Now, one of the other really strong ways to get a card underneath him is also going to be with this 4-cost raid Yusuke. Again, I'm sure this is going to be a 12 SR deck. All of these cards go so well together. So 4-cost raid Yusuke here. When played, you actually get to draw 2 cards and then trash 1. So already a fantastic when played ability, especially for a 4-cost raid. And then when attacking, you can choose one of the following. You can choose one character on your field and place the top card of your deck face down underneath it. So you can literally just energize. You can get your Koenma back up and ready to go for next turn with that. Or you can place the face down card underneath this character into the sideline and it'll gain impact. So you also have the option to just straight up give him impact when attacking. Set up maybe another Yusuke when attacking, because if you did like the choose all of the following, you could place your face down card underneath him and then also remove it to give him impact that turn. But yeah, overall it's going to be so nice being able to just attack with this Yusuke and then put the card underneath Koenma. So yeah, it's going to be really nice getting the impact snipe off that fast and just setting up your board, hopefully easily every single turn. So yeah, it looks like all these cards are going to flow really well together with like the draw engine, the being able to place cards face down underneath in different ways, and really just having a lot of different play styles on top of the pressure on your opponent with the snipe, impact, rest, and having a bunch of active characters with multiple raids. And then looking at the Yusukes that you have to raid on top of, starting with the best one, I'd say the 1-cost promo that we got added to the main set here. When played, you can place the top card of your deck face down underneath this Yusuke, and then active main switch to resting. Once per turn, you place the one face down card underneath this character into the sideline. Then if you do, you can choose one of the following abilities. First one, reducing the energy required on the next Yusuke you raid from your hand this turn by 1, making a 7-cost raid a 6-cost, making the 4-cost raid a 3-cost if you're really bricking and you really need some help, draw power essentially, get a body out. Or the other option here, choose one character on your field, give it 1k BP until the end of the turn. You know, with Koenma, I doubt you're going to be using his ability on this too often, but you never know, situations where it's just enough pressure to really force your opponent to have to lose some bodies with the extra 1k. But regardless, yeah, being able to essentially make him, I guess you could look at it as a double energy generator for the turn. Very, very nice, especially for a 1-cost. And again, there's other uses to this too. You could also just set him up to have the card face down underneath him, so that when you raid with the 4-cost next turn, you can actually, or even that turn, he just has impact ready to go. It's going to be nice having these different options and different play styles. Then we've got this 3-cost Yusuke card here. If you didn't notice on the Yusuke we covered before, he also does not have a trigger, so with neither of them having triggers, but both of them probably being run at 4-ofs, this is going to look like a, you know, not super high trigger deck, but I'm not going to lie, with everything it's doing and stuff, I'm not too worried about it. Regardless, very good Yusuke here. 3-cost, active main once per turn. You can choose one of the following. This character generates energy until the start of your next turn, making him a double energy generator. Or this character he generates energy even if he's on the front line until the start of your next turn as well. Both lingering until the start of your next turn, which is really good. So if you do happen to hit that 7-cost raid out of life, if you wanted to, you could raid him. Or just having those situations where, I don't know, you're really low on cards on the back line, but just in case you hit the 4-cost, now he's putting you at a 4 raid out of life. You never know the situations where it comes in handy, but it is good to know that you're getting it during your opponent's turn as well. And also, if you do happen to combo this with the Koenma, it's just great options to have for multiple situations. So let's say you have the Koenma on the energy line with 3 other single generating cards, making you at 5 energy generation. You could use the Koenma ability on this guy, making him a 2 energy generator on the front line, now putting you at 7, even though you've been struggling to get there, so you can raid out that card. Again, it's going to be really cool to see all the different situations that this Yusuke deck can sort of get itself out of and stuff. Really excited to see it in play for sure. And then we've got this 3-cost Yusuke raid target here. Pretty simple, but very good to have for what we're trying to do. Double energy generating, active trigger, 3k. Again, we have a lot of Yusuke raid options, but having one with a trigger that's also generating double energy, not going to be bad to have in the deck for sure. So great raid target to have, no question. And then we have a 2-cost Yusuke here. When played, choose one character on your field, place the top card of your deck face down underneath it. With the active trigger, 3k BP. Again, a great card to just get your Koenma online ready to go. Unfortunately, there's not a way to re-stand your Koenma, so you're really only going to be able to use his ability once per turn, because you have to switch him to resting, remove the card underneath him to target all abilities on a character. But regardless, it's going to be nice being able to set him up with the Yusukes. Or even, again, your 4-cost Yusuke raids and stuff. And then our generic 0-cost Yusuke with the add-to-hand trigger, 1500 BP. And then some other cards that are going to go great with this deck. We have a 3-cost Botan, who's a double energy generator with an active trigger, and a great when played. You get to choose one of the following abilities. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can place them on the top in any order, or you can place them on the bottom in any order, which is really, really, really nice, so that you get the little deck filtration while you're also getting the double energy generation as well. The other effect that you can choose is reveal the top card of your deck and add it to your hand. If the revealed card is not Yusuke, you do have to trash a card. So there could be some situations with Koenma where you're really desperate to get that Yusuke raid out and use his ability on this Botan to choose all the effects, where you get to look at the top 2, see that it's a Yusuke, you know, put him on the top when you reorganize it, and then draw that Yusuke, because you get to reveal it and add it to hand. So yeah, could be a great card to target with Koenma. Again, you probably want to be a little strict on when you use that Koenma ability, but at the same time, you're going to have options, right? You're going to have options and different times to use those abilities. But anyways, a great double energy generator to have for the deck for sure. And then we have a 2-cost Botan here, no trigger, and I'm going to be honest, with the other Yusuke's that we're probably already trying to force in as 4-ofs, already at 8 no triggers, that's going to make this card hard to run. But regardless, 2-cost Botan. When played, choose one of the following. Choose a character on your field that'll gain 1k till the end of the turn, or if a character with 5k or more BP is on your field, draw a card. You know, you could run it. You could use Koenma's ability and trigger both of these. This card, however, looks like a fantastic one-cost poo when played. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and then you get to reveal a Yusuke or a Koenma, add it to your hand, and then place the remaining on the bottom. Trash a card if you did take one, with a draw trigger as well. 1500 BPs, whatever. It's just such a great search engine to help us get the Koenma and or Yusuke's that we're looking for. Get them at the right times. And again, the fact that we're getting these search 3 to 4s, they're just a lot better than like search 5s in my opinion, which was sort of like a consistent thing I feel like. You do see variations depending on the decks and the colors, but regardless, not having to search a bunch of cards for the less risk of bottom decking like specials and finals, or maybe, I don't know, Botans that you were hoping to grab. Regardless, this is going to be a great card to help you get to the cards that you need to get to. And then 0-cost Pooh, he's just going to be our generic active main switch to resting. He'll generate double energy till the end of the turn. Then you have to sideline him, or I guess till the end of the main phase. A lot of 2 energy generating cards in the deck though, so I would not stress too much about running him. And then we do have this 4-cost Kurama here. Again, with raid Yusuke's, wanting Yusuke targets, Koenma, Botan, double energy generators going in the deck, there's a chance you probably don't find room for this Kurama, but you never know. Maybe you find room for him in the other deck as well. Again, a lot of different hybrids and builds we're going to see out of green, I feel like. But anyways, 4-cost Kurama here. When played, you may place the top card of your deck face down underneath this character, and then active main if he's on the front line once per turn. You place the face down card under this character into your sideline. If you do, choose one character on your field, and again, this character cannot be blocked by a character with 4k or more BP until the end of the turn. With a draw trigger, 4k BP, he's only 1 action point. I mean, he's not a bad card for sure. But again, like, just not a necessary card to run, and with 50 cards in the deck and already so many cards I can guarantee you're going to be trying to run based around like the Yusuke raids and stuff like that, it's going to be hard to find room for him, and I don't know if he's going to be that great. But at the end of the day, you know, you're surprising your opponent when they have a line full of 4, 5, 6Ks with, hey, you can't block my character and I'm getting that last life. Can be very strong, on top of the fact that we're already impact sniping and resting. You could definitely force your opponent into some unfortunate situations. I'll say that. So not a bad card by any means. It's just coming down to finding the room, I feel like. And then we've also got this other 5-cost Kurama here, active main once per turn, choose one of the following. You can either give him 1500 BP until the end of the turn, making him a 5k, or this character gains energy generation on the front line until the start of your next turn. With the active trigger, not a terrible card to help you potentially get your Yusuke raids out and stuff, especially because his active main once per turn is free. You don't have to be on the front line. You can just pop it wherever. I mean, you do need to for the second ability and for the 5k to matter. Regardless, you don't have to pay anything to actually use this effect, which is really, really nice. Plus the active trigger as well. Not a terrible 5-cost, honestly. But again, don't be surprised if he's not required, I'd say. And then when it comes to the Hiei cards, which, again, a lot of these cards you're going to be able to mix and match, but I think will look great in this deck. We have a 5-cost Hiei, no trigger, which doesn't help stacking the no triggers, but hear me out. When attacking, choose one of the following. This character gains, he cannot be blocked by a character with 2500 or less, so sort of forcing your opponent to, if they have to block him, block with a better card, a 3k or higher, and still hopefully get sidelined. Or the other ability, he gains damage 2 until the end of the turn. So again, a great card, I think, to splash into the Yusuke deck, just because you can have these turns where you're pretty much removing your opponent's entire front line, and then hopefully you played a Hiei on your back line the turn before, so you could just shove him up and then give him damage too, while your opponent has nothing on the front line. Again, I think just all this stuff stacked together can make for some really, really cool plays potentially. Let's just hope the no triggers don't stack against you. And then we have a 2-cost Hiei here. He's going to have Step, active trigger, 3k BP. Not a terrible card by any means. Might look a little better in the other deck as far as like where you actually need to run him, but good card to have. Step is never bad, especially with the active trigger. And then we have a 4-cost Hiei here. no trigger. When played, you may place the top card of your deck face down underneath this character, and then when attacking, you may place the face down card underneath this character into the sideline. If you do, draw a card. Not a terrible card to have if you're doing a lot of like the placing cards face down underneath other cards as like your main, I guess, focus, and you don't have a really solid place to do it. You could give it to Hiei, and he's sort of like a draw engine. But again, no trigger does not help his cause, I'll say that. Then we've got this event card here, Spirit Detective. 2 cost, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 character among them, add it to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom, and then if the revealed card was a Yusuke, you actually get to draw a card. Not a terrible search card by any means, especially because it does have the active trigger, which isn't bad. These event cards instantly become useless to me when they don't have a trigger, which I think we're leaving those days behind us finally. But again, not a terrible card, especially because you can actually take any character with it. And again, you're running a Yusuke focused deck. It's sort of like a draw too, but you're also searching out that Yusuke. So not terrible to run. It's just, again, finding the room for it. You know. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if a 2 of comes in handy. But again, at the end of the day, event cards have to be very, very strong or free plays to justify running them, in my opinion. And then our special for the Yusuke deck, it's going to be the 4-cost Spirit Gun. Choose 1 character with 3k or less on your opponent's front line, sideline it. But if you have Yusuke, sideline a 5k instead. Our generic 3 to 5k, but never a bad card to have by any means. And then we do have some other Koenma cards to look at here. Wouldn't say they're super necessary, especially because we just have so many other generating options and stuff for energy. But keep in mind with the name Koenma when you're like searching with other cards and stuff. Not a terrible thing to have. Anyways, 2-cost Koenma. He's going to be our generic. When he's set to active, he's going to be generating 2 energy. Again, not super necessary, I don't think, for the Yusuke deck. This is a great card, though. 0-cost Koenma. He's going to be our when played draw and then trash a card with a draw trigger. I'd say he's probably worth running just for that deck filtration, especially early game. And then that's pretty much it for the cards that are definitely focused for like the Yusuke deck. Again, don't be surprised if you see some cards coming up that you want to slap into the Yusuke deck as well. That might seem useful. But yeah, with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the other deck here, the Kuwabara deck. And again, for if anyone's ever curious how I like come to the conclusion that's what the decks are based around, I feel like the specials really point to what the decks, at least Bandai's trying to make you build, are like focused around. You have the special that requires Kuwabara, and then you have the special that requires Yusuke. Just something to mention for anyone curious. Diving into Kuwabara here, 4-cost raid Kuwabara. This deck looks really strong. Force blocks, a lot of playing out of the sideline and just keeping your hand full by refilling your, again, taking cards out of the sideline or preventing them from going to it, like with Kuwabara here. But yeah, he's going to have Nullify Impact, even if he's not raided. If you don't know, any effects above or outside of the raid box here, he can have if you just play the Kuwabara without raiding him, or if he's unraided somehow. Anyways, Nullify Impact with or without raid, and then raided when played. This character is going to gain, your opponent must block this character till the end of the turn. Wouldn't be surprised if people try to get away with him and the 7-cost Yusuke in a deck, and they're just constantly raiding and force blocking. That could be really annoying, but we'll have to see what the better build is. Anyways, when sidelined, if Yukina is on your field, that's another thing. Kuwabara's cards are really based around Yukina. Return up to 1 base card of this rated character to your hand. So yeah, he's going to have that nice ability where even if he is getting sidelined, you're getting to take that card that you raided on top of and put it back into your hand. With the raid trigger as well, so you can raid him from life. Not a bad card at all. Again, you probably want to try to prevent rating him from life if you can, just because you lose the when played ability. But yeah, great force block card, playing into his deck in a really, really cool way. And then for our raid target Kuwabaras here, we're going to have 2 cost. When played, choose 1 character on your opponent's front line with BP less than the highest BP of any character on your field and switch it to resting. So any other character, so it can't be him. You know, a nice when played rest a character. It could be good for playing into the raid to rest a character that you don't want your opponent to block with, so that your opponent has to block with the character you want him to block with when you raid Kuwabara. Not a terrible card, just no trigger, unfortunately. And then 1 cost Kuwabara during your turn. If Yukina is on your field, he's going to gain 1k BP, making him a 3k when he's attacking. On a 1 cost, that's pretty strong, with an active trigger as well. Great raid target, no doubt. And then 0 cost Kuwabara with the generic add to hand trigger, 1500 BP. And then we've got another 2-cost Kuwabara. When attacking, you may place one face-down card underneath this character into your sideline. If you do, this character gains 1k BP until the end of the turn with a draw trigger, with that 1k making him a 4k. I guess he might look a little better. I mean, again, you could do a lot of mixing and matching. So if you put him into the build where you're putting cards underneath him with like the rush mentality that you can go with, it could look really strong. And then looking at the special for the deck here, a very unique one for Kuwabara, the 4-cost Spirit Sword. Choose one character on your field, it gains 1k BP, and when this character attacks and wins a battle, play up to one green card with 2 or less required energy and 1 action point from your sideline set to resting onto your field until the end of the turn. So obviously you give this to your Kuwabara, who's gonna win a battle because he has the force block, the raid, and then you're also being able to play a card rested from your sideline onto your field. So crazy, the amount of sideline potential this deck has to play out of, and green doesn't normally do that. But on top of all of that, if the chosen character was Kuwabara, he's also going to gain Snipe. So overall, you probably don't want to give this to the raid, but if you do, it's going to be so nice. You could actually even target, if you are going for like the Yusuke Kuwabara build potentially, if there's any potential there, you could literally target your 7-cost Yusuke Snipe with this, and they'll be able to revive a card for you essentially. But obviously what they're trying to get you to do with it, because they're also gaining 1k, is you can give this to like one of your 3k Kuwabaras, and now they're a 4-cost 4k BP Snipe, who's also going to revive a character for you. Again, at the end of the day, it's your removal, it's Snipe, but being able to also get a 1k buff and play a card for free out of your sideline with it, really nice effects to have on top of it all. And then diving into the Genkai cards here, who again are going to probably play better into the lower cost build, where you're sort of going for the rush mentality. We have 3-cost Raid Genkai. This character can only be played by performing a raid with it, so you are not allowed to just play this card out as a 4,500 3-cost. If you do raid though, at the start of your turn, place the top card from this rated character into your sideline and then draw a card. So essentially, the turn you raid her out, she's not going to get sidelined from this ability, obviously. But if she's alive at the start of your next turn, you're going to have to put this raid card into your sideline. But you do get to draw a card, which is nice. And as you're going to see with this event card later on, not a terrible ability to have because of the event card that we'll dive into. But yeah, when played, choose up to one character on your field and move it to the other line. Then choose one character with 3,500 or less BP on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting. So not only are you allowed to push up a character and get an extra attack off, but you're also removing one of your opponent's blockers. And that's also going to play really nice into the 2-cost Genkai here, who's going to be our color trigger. If you don't know in Union Arena, by the way, you can only have 4 color triggers total in the deck. So generally, you are going to have to choose between this card or the other card, Genkai, or the color trigger Koenma. Regardless, this card looks great, tying into that raid we just looked at. So 2-cost Genkai. When played, choose up to one character with 2 or less required energy on your energy line and switch it to active. And then if you rated on top of this Genkai afterward, you could also push up that character. So crazy the fast quick plays you're going to be able to get off with this deck. 3k BP as well, so even just this character looking pretty good. Then we've got a 3-cost 2 action point Genkai card. When played, draw a card, then add up to one green character with 3 or less required energy and 1 action point from your sideline to your hand. But if you have a Genkai on your field with 4k or more BP, you can actually choose a 4k instead. And what's really nice about this is, while it's saying, like, you know, you can have the raid card out and choose a 4 instead, you could also use one of your other abilities throughout the deck where you buff a character, making them a 4k, making one of your Genkais a 3 to a 4k. So not a bad card to have, honestly. Gonna be really nice being able to not just get cards out of sideline with this, but also get a draw off. She's also got a draw trigger, so even though the 2 action points are a little high to pay, I'd say it's a pretty good card, especially because this deck is sort of going for the rush, more or less sort of free plays mentality potentially. So hopefully the 2 action points isn't super high to pay with it. And then we have a 0-cost Genkai here with the active trigger, 2k BP, probably just a good 0 cost to have and also raid on top of later. And then tying all of the Genkai cards together, we have this really cool looking event card, 4-cost Spirit Reflection Blast. Again, earlier we were talking about event cards having to be really strong or be free plays to be justifiable in running. This card pretty much falls under the umbrella of both things. So add up to one Genkai card with one action point from your sideline to your hand, or perform a raid with it on a character on your field. Then, if you and your opponent are generating the same amount of energy, you can actually choose one of your action points and switch it to active, making this a free raid out of sideline. With the draw trigger as well. Like, on paper it looks good, I need to see it in game, but all around sounds like a really strong way to play, and really strong board pressure at the very least. Question is, how consistent and easy to get off is it? But yeah, constantly getting free raids out of your sideline with draw power. Pretty crazy, pretty crazy. There is also this field card that's going to play into the whole deck here, 3-cost tournament. Play this site set to active onto your field. It's also a double energy generator, so again, with the mixing and matching, this could be one of those cards that kind of ties the two together if you were trying to go Kuwabara and 7-cost Yusuke. But anyways, active main, switch to resting once per turn. Choose one character with 2 or less required energy on your energy line and switch it to active. So it's literally a Genkai when played ability, but it's an active main on a site that's generating double energy. So yeah, really cool that you have these 2 different cards to keep playing cards and set them to active, and then push them up with the Genkai raids, because we're trying to spam out Genkai raids over and over. Gonna be interesting to see if it all works out the way it looks like it can. And then we've also got some Yukina cards here that can help buff your Kuwabaras. A 2-cost active main, switch to resting. Choose one character on your field. It'll gain 1k BP until the end of the turn. And then active main, switch to resting, sideline this character. You can choose one Kuwabara on your field, and it's going to gain impact until the end of the turn. So again, it's crazy how if you go like full commit Kuwabara build, you can literally have pseudo snipe impacts. It's crazy. And on top of the Genkai setting 2 costs or less active the turn you play them, it's pretty reliable as well, because normally having an ability where you have to switch the character to resting on the active main can kind of set you back, because you have to wait until next turn because you play them rested. But we have multiple ways to play this Yukina active and then activate the impact part of this card. With the add to hand trigger as well, so that if it does end up in your life, you're always getting this card. I can really see this Kuwabara build putting on a lot of pressure, no question, and really just excited to see the hybrids and see what people come up with. We do also have a 0-cost Yukina here, who is our, when played, buff a character by 1k until the end of the turn. With the draw trigger, just a nice 0-cost to have if we are trying to get more Yukina names in the deck for the other Kuwabaras. I do require it. And then there is a search engine for the deck here, 1-cost Shizuru. When played, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Kuwabara or Yukina card among them and add it to your hand, place the remaining on the bottom, and then if you did take a card, trash a card. Unfortunately, this one does not have a trigger. I think I like the Pooh card better. I'd rather have the trigger with less BP on the 1-cost search than 2k but no trigger. Either way, good search engine to have if you do want to try to find your cards a little faster. Just keep in mind, if you are going with a lot of like Yusukes and the Genkais, this card could, out of 5, hurt you a little bit, unfortunately. And then we've just got a few cards that you can pretty much splash into either deck. Don't really have any sort of specifications as to what they're trying to do or what they're trying to be ran with. We have the 2-cost Junior High active main, switch to resting once per turn, draw a card, and then trash a card with the add to hand trigger. Pretty interesting having a site where every single turn you can just get a draw trash off. Definitely don't count this card out for sure, but again, not like a site card you're going to go like a 4 of or anything. But I definitely don't see this hurting you in any way if you do get it set up. The only thing is you have to wait until the turn after you play it to start getting its abilities, because it's a site that is not played set to active. Keep that in mind. We've got this 2-cost Jury card. When played, if Koto's on your field, choose up to 1 other character on your field. It gains 1k BP until the end of the turn. With an active trigger, 3k BP. A nice way to get, like, if we're going with like the sort of weenie rush mentality, we have more ways to get those like 3 and 2ks up on BP to sort of pressure our opponent a little bit more. And then 2-cost Koto, when played, if Jury's on your field, draw a card. With a draw trigger, 2500 BP. Again, 2 not so terrible cards, I guess, but at the same time, they're literally name dependent, and there's 1 of each other in the deck, so don't be surprised if these aren't really ran much. And then we have the 3-cost Ruka. This is our generic if we're going up against a purple or a red deck. This card is actually a 2-cost instead of a 3, which can be fantastic for a double energy generator if we're going up against, I don't know, red and purples expectedly in like rare battles, or maybe with Kenshin out right now, this card gains insane value because red and purple Kenshin are just both very top tier decks and very run. So anyways, if there's any time to gain value out of these colors, it's at times like that, right? No trigger sucks, but whatever. And then 1 cost Kiko. This is our generic when played. Return 1 other character with 1 or less on the field to our hand. If not, we have to return her. But she's a double energy generator as a 1 cost. Again, with the Yusuke deck, where we'd probably like want to try to run this card, we have so many options for energy generation. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't really care about this. And then we have the 0 cost Satsuko, literally just a 2K. And then last but not least, our final for the deck, 3 cost I Didn't Die for Nothing. Our action point restander, if you don't know, the final. And yeah, with that, that is every single green Yu Yu Hakusho card. Again, I'm really excited to start diving into this set, especially the green cards. The other color I'm really looking at is red. And I'm not going to lie, on top of all that, I'm hearing purple is going to be very good, very top tier. But regardless, I'm excited for green. Again, especially because of the potential in deck mixing and like how much different variations of builds we're going to see, I feel like. Obviously, like the Genkai raid is more in her own deck, and like the 7 cost Yusuke is going to require more focus than anything. But at the end of the day, I'm super tempted to try to go like 4 of him and 4 of Kuwabara and just have like 12 plus different forms of removal in the deck. Could be so good. Regardless, we're going to see what the outcomes come out to. At the end of the day, the most consistent best deck I feel like is going to be the 4 of this Yusuke, 4 of this Yusuke, and you're just going full Yusuke draw potential with Koenmas, getting everything you want and getting the cards sent out so that you have the draw power and stuff. Because at the end of the day, when you try to go with 2 different raids like this, you do have to splash in different targets. But if you're going with 8 Yusuke raids, you just have a bunch of Yusukes and you're more consistent in raiding essentially. Either way, not going to be surprised if there's going to be different builds that are standing out from green for sure. If there's anything that I feel like might hold this deck back that I'm a little nervous about, is it's those no triggers. Man, is there more no triggers in this than I wanted to see. But with that, that is it. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you got this far, what the hell? You're an absolute legend. Seriously, you're the real one. Trust me. Let me know in the comments what color you're building. Let me know if you're more excited about this or Kaiju 8, what you think is going to stand out, how you think it'll stand up against maybe Rurouni Kenshin, because that's going to be the big question for a while now, right? How is this going to do against Red Rurouni? But appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.